Hello and welcome to the Kansas City Snap LLC. My name is Mocha Myers and I am breathing in that good prana and I'm putting it out to the universe. I want you guys to receive it and I want you to apply it to your lives as you choose to do so. And today I have with me the one and only Miss Karisa Harrington, who inspires me so much. She's an actress, a producer, a leader, poetic speaker. Let's not even get started.
on the poetry.
Y'all, let me welcome you and just give you Karisa.
Thank you. I just want to first say thank you to you because we've known each other for a few years now.
Yes, we have.
And I'm typically not on this side of the mic, yes. But I am so grateful to you when you interviewed me a few years ago. I felt your spirit, and I tell you that all the time. You have an absolutely genuine spirit. So if people want to find something to emulate or find something to look up to, that would be it. So thank you. Thank you. And I'm happy to be here.
And thank you for inspiring me.
Absolutely.
Okay, because in order to even do what I do, I'm standing on somebody's shoulders.
Man, come on.
And
there are a lot of people out there. There are a lot of people that kind of paved the way for us, especially here in Kansas City. So, kudos to all of them.
Yes. You know what? Speaking on this being Women's International Month.
Yes.
I do want to give you a shout out as well. I want to give a few shout outs before we get started on speaking.
Okay.
Would you like to give any shout out for Women's International Empowerment Month?
I hope we get to the point at someday to be able to give women their just respect and their just homage every day. But I'm certainly willing to do it while we're celebrating this month. There are so many strong women out there. And I feel blessed to know a lot of strong women. There are women that are in the arts that are doing things like never before. It's hard to single out a particular woman for one strength when there are 100 more with that same ability and that strength. But shout out to all the women that have pushed through the pandemic, missing money, not being able to go to work, still having to teach their children and to feed their families in a time when crisis was what we were consumed with. It wasn't just some feeling on the outskirts. So shout out to all those women that have pushed through, have persevered, and are still doing it today. Because that's a lot. That's a lot. So kudos to them.
Kudos to the teachers.
Yes.
And the parents at home that have to deal with the change of what they said is the new norm. It took me a long time to accept the fact that this was the new norm.
Yes.
With the social distancing and the mask and the kids being at home. But speaking on that, how do you feel about, because I want to let you guys first and foremost know that Karisa is with the Next Paige Talent Agency.
I am.
LLC. Would you like to just give them a little input?
Of course, I got to give a shameless plug to the agency. But I am program director for the Next Page Talent Agency, which is Kansas City's first Black-owned and female-owned talent agency. Elena Thomas Paige, or Paige Thomas, is our founder, and she has brought together a team of really powerful people. We've got a large team. All of us are working professionals, but we all have some stake in the arts, either working models or actors or teachers or designers or producers, to be able to pull this off. We're a full-service, full-scale talent agency, meaning that we book talent for other clients, but we also have a programming piece as well. So we service actors, dancers, singers, and what am I missing? Actors, dancers, singers, and models.
Yeah.
The most important, right. And we just today completed, we've been going through what's called open call, which is when people submit and they want to be in the arts, and we bring them in and talk to them and then determine whether or not we can sign them to the agency to get them to work. So today was the final day for that. So we had a beautiful signing session. So people were able to come in, take commemorative pictures, and really talk about what they wanted the path to their career to look like. So we are putting dancers together. We have a couple shows that we're producing that will be the end of this month. So shout out to all the dancers that came out. We just booked one of our artists, a lovely young woman. And this will be another woman that I will point to say she is a powerful woman that deserves being celebrated. Her name, she goes by Love Macy. Probably the dopest neo soul artist in the country, but we happen to have her right here in Kansas City. She's booked for a show at a place called Soul Centricity, which is in the first floor of the Wonder Lofts on 29th and Truce. And if people haven't been there, please, that's another woman, Black-owned business. Phenomenal woman who sells teas, and you would think that might be a niche thing, but when you have the right energy and the right ambiance, it's a beautiful thing. So March 27th from 6 to 8. That is a Saturday, March 27th from 6 to 8, Love Macy in concert, opened by Maya, who is also opening for Vito on the 13th when he comes to Kansas City. So it's a good thing. Great things are happening with women these days. So I'm very proud.
That is just very proud. Amazing. Doesn't that make you feel good to be a part of something like that?
Yes, it does. It does. That's what fuels me. That's what gets me up in the morning. For all the things that can weigh heavily on our spirits, that's what gets me up, just to know that there's somebody else that's getting up and pushing today. So I gotta be there too.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. You know, you guys, when I first met Miss Harrington, Karisa, after I interviewed her, she invited me to a play. And oh my God, that's where I met Lynette Crawford. Lynette
King.
Lynette King, I'm sorry. Lynette King. Shout out to you.
Yes, that's another phenomenally strong Black woman. She and I did the show that you came to. It was called Single Black Female.
Single Black Female.
And it was a two-woman show. We were on stage for probably 21 shows. And that was a lot for two women to do together. Yes. But I think it speaks to what can happen when we collaborate from the deepest, most sincere part of our spirits. There's no jealousy, there's no envy, there's no nastiness, all those things that I think we get caught into. The stereotypical behavior of women really isn't us. There are a few folks that haven't gotten the hang of it yet, but that's really not who we are. And I think once you realize and accept that you're creative, like you are, and an artist, it changes the way we interact with each other, and I think it makes us level up. So but shout out to Miss Lynette King, who is definitely doing her thing.
Yes. And you know, I always speak about giving that lens, changing that perspective and lens of perceiving things and being able to push out that knowledge to the next generation. And that's what we're trying to do here, you know, as we get older and leaving a pathway for not only our children but for other children as well, because it takes a village,
a whole village, and a couple of
extra aunts. It takes a village.
Yes.
And I just want to give a shout out to Afimi Records, my other family that I am working with, and also to One Voice Radio for allowing me to have, you know, my show on this platform, to be able to put this beautiful young lady here, to be able to discuss all this good talent and things that we have going on here in Kansas City. And so what took you from acting, what actually started you in acting, and then what led you to decide to, I want to be a producer?
To make that transition. Well, I had always been a writer. I had been a writer since I was a child. I loved writing poetry, short stories, and there came a point, I started doing performance poetry about 22 years ago. So that was great for me. Kansas City had a really rich artistic network for poets. But I really wanted to just write. I really wasn't into the performance part of it. So I had a script and I was trying to send it to this one particular producer. And I thought, you know, if he would just read my script, it was a short play. And I said, if he would just read it, you know, that would be dope. Maybe he would want to produce it. So he wasn't hitting me back. I'm emailing him. I'm calling him. I'm doing everything I can. And I could not get his attention. So finally he put up a casting and said that he was casting for a play. So I said, well, I'm going to show up and audition. But my goal was to just slide this script into his hand and then leave. Because I didn't consider myself an actress. I'm a little dramatic, but I didn't think I was an actress. And I somehow got the part. He didn't like my script, but I got the part. And that was the first play that I was in. And that was now probably 11, 12 years ago. I became a union actress about 3 years after that, and then a collective actress with KC Melting Pot Theater immediately after that. So been on stage for a long time, really enjoyed it, but I think there comes a point where you have to keep growing and you have to keep digging and you have to find out like where your artistic core is. And I'm one of those people that I have to have the right balance of artistry and professionalism and corporate America to make my life make sense.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so right when COVID hit, I was getting ready to do a show with a young man named Trey Coppage, who's a phenomenal actor here. And we had a 2-person show written for us that was going to be exhibited in the Hispanic Film Festival down on KU's campus. So we had just finished rehearsals for that, and I was in another show, and then COVID hits, and it shut everything down. So for me, I had to figure out, what does that mean? If you can't do that thing that balances you, what do you do? So trying to kind of make the pivot in COVID and figuring out kind of how that was going to look made me think about other things. I started a media company with a partner of mine, and we started doing short films and documentaries just as a way to keep pushing out art. Because if you think about what impacts the people, and I think it goes back to what you said about powerful women, we need a blueprint to follow. We don't pop out of the womb powerful.
Absolutely.
So we have to have some sort of guidance in that journey, and I think that that's what art does for us.
Yes.
That's the way to kind of touch the mind and touch the spirit at the same time. So I knew how important that was. So kind of made the transition into production. I had dabbled at directing a little bit. Didn't really think that was my niche, but I knew I wanted to stay in the arts.
Right.
So kind of as COVID is evolving and the pandemic is really engulfing everybody, I noticed that people that were really artistic weren't shaken. I want to say not shaken as deeply as other people, because we had a different life source. And so that started to become really important to me, and I started writing about that. So that's kind of how that transition was made. And I think that you can overdo or stay in a particular space too long. Doing radio was one of those things where I knew when I had done enough, and I was like, okay, it's probably time for me to bow out. Poetry was the same way. I knew when I had done enough performance poetry that it wasn't that wasn't for me anymore. There was somebody else that needed to come behind me. Just like Ray, somebody's gonna come behind you and follow exactly what you've done, and you've paved that way for that person. And I think that's the respectful thing that we do, especially as Black women, because we know how hard the road is. So we have a responsibility to leave that trail. My mom used to call it breadcrumbs behind you, but leave a trail so that somebody else can follow it. Don't be selfish enough to want to try to hold on to all of it. I'm gonna hold on to this mic forever, because there may be another voice that needs to be heard other than your own. So it's just that transition.
And when you give, that's how you get your blessings, because God would just love to just give you so many blessings and just fill your life with abundance. You might have a few bricks and rocks along the way. I'm not saying that life is perfect, but it makes it a lot easier when you lead your life with love.
Yes, absolutely.
Love and God.
People feel that.
Yes, and
feel that around you.
Yeah, and they feel that energy, and that makes them want to, sometimes you be in, they'll say, oh, I was in the right spot, no, that was called divine timing. Because God works in supernatural ways. So, but that's a whole nother topic.
That's a whole nother topic, but I think that the point is still important though, because, sometimes we get disappointed when we don't get the opportunity that we think we deserve, but either it's not for us right then, or there's something else that we're supposed to be doing. And I just encourage people, don't be complacent. Don't sit still too long, because then it gets very comfortable to stay still. And you want to always have something that fuels you and something that gets you up in the morning. And whether that's, work and a combination of whatever you're good at, or helping people, or developing a business, do that. Because the longer you talk about it, the longer time goes by. And then you wake up and it's a year later,
and
5 years later, and
you
still haven't done it. Right.
Starts with, I used to not believe in putting your vision on paper. The things that you see, but when I started writing it down, or just putting little pictures out of magazines, like you said, with the vision board or whatever, I started seeing those things come into play. But it's not just gonna just come to you, be like, you got to meet it halfway.
Absolutely.
You got to put that energy, into it, because everything is energy. Again, as I say all the time. I heard it thanks to Lisa Nichols, another very powerful woman. Energy grows where energy goes.
Yes. And that's important. And I think that as we get older, and I don't know if it's an age thing or just a maturity thing, as you stay on this planet long enough, you're bound to learn some lessons. The reality is that sometimes we dismiss the lessons and don't apply them to our lives.
Exactly.
But it's that application that's the important thing. And I think, just like you said, being an energy feeler, understanding good situations from bad, it's not always an intellectual move. Sometimes it really is feeling that energy. And I think, I would never say that women do that better than men. I just think think that we have a predisposition that makes us more sensitive to it. And so just pay attention.
Yes.
Pay attention to how things feel. When something doesn't feel right, it's probably not right. And learn to trust those feelings. Yeah.
Yeah, that instinct is,
yes.
we call it
yes.
instinct, but really it's that intuition.
Yes it is. Yes, ma'am.
That's that free gift God gives you.
Yes, and we just have to hone it and learn how to use it and trust it. You have to trust it. I can't tell you how many times I've been in a situation, I've been in a particular place, and it's time to go. I don't have an explanation for why, but I'll feel it. It's time for me to go. I don't need to be in this situation, and I'm not wrong, because it, like you said, it's intuition by some people's definition, but it really is that sensitivity in your spirit that alerts you. This is what you should do. It directs you and it guides you. You just have to learn to hear it.
You're sure right. You're absolutely right. And it's up to that person to, accept it.
Yes.
Understand that voice, that inner voice.
Yes.
Be in communication with that, and learn how to recognize the signs and symbols. Because sometimes, it's like driving down the street. It's all this. You're trying to get to a specific spot.
Mm-hmm.
You want to be on time. There goes a traffic jam.
Yes.
Okay, you trying to maneuver just to get to where they're, get to. It's a reason why you get stuck in that. Okay,
that's true.
Because if you was able to maneuver and get to that stop sign, hit that right, then bam, you probably end up in an accident. Okay?
And trust that. You have to trust.
You have to trust the process.
Absolutely.
And as you said when you first went into acting, you didn't know. You really actually went out on faith.
Yes.
And that's what God really wants us to do anyways, is to trust Him and have faith, and everything else will then just come into play.
That's right.
So with that being said, He led you to the talent agency.
Yes. So I met Elena Paige, who is the founder. It's interesting that what you just said really was a perfect segue, because hearing what that still small voice is and paying attention to it is important. And I recognize patterns, and I pay attention to patterns. And I had been at 3 different business meetings when her name came up. Her name, like I said, is Elena Paige Thomas. And people kept saying, you need to go talk to her. You need to talk to her.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, after the 3rd time, I said, well, maybe I do need to reach out. And before I could call her, she called me and asked to have a meeting with me. Elena is a phenomenal dancer who had toured for about 10 years. She's opened and danced for every artist that you can think of and has a really stellar career. Came back to Kansas City to live and wanted to open a talent agency. Well, the interesting thing is in most cities, there's a talent agency in every city, right? But most of them book models or actors, one or the other, sometimes both, but very seldom when you find a full service agency. So she and I got together after she had started, and we talked about kind of what the agency could look like. And she's a brilliant mind, she really is, and she understands artistry from a really intense level, being an artist, being an artist leader, and being an instructor. And so as this business has evolved, we've been able to sign tons of talent. We've been able to book tons of talent, which is a big thing, because there is that myth that art doesn't survive or thrive in Kansas City, that if you really want to be an artist, if you want to be a singer, you want to be a dancer, you got to move to Chicago or Atlanta or LA. But we've realized one thing that the pandemic has taught us is that those opportunities now can come to you.
That's right.
And you can take advantage of them, sometimes virtually and then personally. But even more than that, we are rich here when it comes to talent. The kind of talent we have in Kansas City is on par with what you would find in Atlanta or in LA or Chicago or New York.
Yes.
So we found a way to capitalize on that, and it's working. Again, today we had a huge signing session, and it was so gratifying to see artists that are getting ready to work now. They get to go have job assignments and do what they love to do. A lot of us get to be much older before we can do that. And I saw kids that were signed as models, and the excitement that they had to know that they'll get to go work now and do what they love to do. That's important. So the agency has been going really, really well. We are excited for summer. because we want to heavily focus, even though we'll still book talent, that's going to be a steady all the time, but we want to heavily focus on programming for children, because the kids that have been affected by COVID and have been at home for months on end trying to go to school, they need that socialization. As things open up, to get them together and to have programming where they can be creative together, feed off of each other's energies, is going to be great. So I'm excited. For something.
That sounds like something that's really exciting.
Yeah.
So, how would everybody get in contact?
I am so easy to find. I'm probably the only Karis, spelled Karis, in the city. But my first name is Karis, last name is Harrington. I am Karis Harrington on every social media platform. Apparently, I'm not as creative as I thought, because that's it. That's on IG, Facebook, and Twitter. The website for the agency, if anybody's interested in either booking talent or becoming talent, is Next Paige, Paige. So it's Next Paige, PAIGE, you'll be able to see the kinds of talent that we have, some of the programming that we offer, and just kind of take a look at your people in Kansas City and what they're doing, because I'm excited. It's a big thing. So
it's a lot of talent, in Kansas City.
Yes.
I want to again, give a shout out to my label that I'm with, the Femi Records, and you can find them www.afemirecords.com. Got tongue tied there.
And I have to find it too. Is it a Femi? AFFI?
AFIMI.
AFIMI. Okay. Y'all got
that? Guys, please follow Callie Ranks and Chris Brown and Miss Lauren Hill on their new singles as well. And talent among talent. I mean,
there's no shortage.
There's just no shortage.
Yes.
And even so, I've been interacting with models myself under my label, Shalastique Models. You like that?
Go ahead. Yes.
And so it makes me feel good to actually put people in a position to be able to fulfill their dreams, to be able to Nancy, my beautiful model Nancy, shout out to you, Nancy, to see her just so, she's from Sudan, and she creates the most beautiful, the most amazing pictures, and, just to be able to show the creativity and the beauty within. And everyone's beautiful in all colors and all different shapes, forms, and sizes, and, and that's just not the women, even the men too. The tall ones, the short ones, they gotta sit on the crate like my producer Damian. He sits on a milk crate, you guys.
Shout out to Damian.
He just set up. He wants y'all to hear him now, and he want him. He's sitting on a milk crate for real.
Hey, look, I embrace my shortness.
Yes, you have to love whatever it is you came to this planet with. That's the whole thing, and that's my hope for humanity, but certainly for our community, that we dismantle the stereotypes that we put on our own people.
Yes,
that we stop the judgment, because we'll get enough of it from the outside. We'll get it from the outside.
Yes.
We can't afford to have it take root in our community. So shout out to Damian, milk crate or not, we love you still.
Milk crate or not.
Yes.
Milk crates and stepmothers.
Milk crates and stepmothers.
And that's the importance, and a lot of people don't see that.
Right.
And our children definitely don't see it, and it's really important for us to embed in them nowadays, especially on how to better themselves from the inside out, especially during the pandemic.
Yes.
The parents gotta work.
Yes.
Okay, so they're left at home. So then they're therefore in front of the computer and TV. We can't let the TV raise the children.
Right.
So I feel like what she has and the talent agency that she has is giving our children something to do fundamentally.
Yes.
Putting their minds to work, and not just, utilize one side of the brain, but utilize this side of the brain as well. And, put them together, and pow, you'll have the biggest dream ever.
That's true. Very true. Very true.
So I want you guys to comment on what we're talking about here, and what do you think about the talent and putting in that effort into your children? Because everybody has a talent. Everybody's born with a talent, the gift of something.
Yes.
I mean, You may sleep a lot, but if you wake up and realize you can sleep when you dead.
Yes. You have something to give.
Yes.
Something
Everybody
that
has
someone
something
else
to give.
doesn't have. And I think that's the beauty of being an individual. The power in it, though, is finding out what that thing is. Because once you begin to love and then live your passion, it changes how you view life. It changes how you see other people. It changes how you see yourself.
Yes.
But it's definitely, if you have to pick a PowerPoint in your development, it's going to be when you hit that spot. When you're like, this is what I'm passionate about. This is what I was placed on this earth to do. You wake up different, for sure.
Like, again, and I'm gonna probably speak on it every show for the rest of this year, for the next 4. Our president, our vice president.
Of course.
When I saw her go into the White House, I already knew that I was a woman that has power, and I have a gift to be able to come back from difficult situations.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
You put that very lightly.
That's the truth, and I don't know how, just something God gave me, but when I saw that woman go into the White House, that gave me another goal within my heart to set higher than what I already had, expectations I already had for myself. Now I want to reach higher than that.
Yes.
Because I know that is achievable by seeing a woman of color be able to become a vice president and be in a house that the slaves built. Yes.
And there's power in just, and like I said, we have to have a blueprint. We have to know what's possible to keep us pushing. And I think looking at Kamala Harris, I don't know that I ever would have thought that I'd live long enough to see a black female vice president.
Right.
But I also, prior to Obama, didn't think I would live long enough to see a black president.
Right.
And now there isn't, where are our excuses now? So now we have no excuses. We can no longer marry the narrative that, well, we can't do it because the white people won't let us do it. We can't do it because somebody's holding us back.
Right.
Now we got to come up with other excuses, or we got to get busy working.
Exactly.
And I'm going to take the get busy working avenue because it is possible. Whatever you want to do, I'm not going to say, just like you, it's not going to be easy necessarily, but it's possible. All you have to do is show me that it's possible.
Right.
If I say, okay, Mocha did it, I might not be able to do it as well as you do it, but at least you set that path for me and you let me know that I have something that I can strive for. And I think that we need to pay really special, careful attention to younger women right now. I'm talking about women like 17 to 24 younger, because they face different challenges. But those challenges, especially in a time like this when we're learning different things about ourselves and the world, and nothing is steady, nothing is static. Our health isn't even, we can't, there's very little that we can totally bank on. It changes every day. I think that's going to be our critical charge, to make sure that we are talking to them, that we're supporting them, that we're giving them a pattern to follow.
Absolutely. Because like you said, if we don't have a blueprint, and what are they going to have? What are they going to know?
Right.
We're going to have a lot of young women out here just
lost, confused.
Mm-hmm.
Very true.
And it's a sad thing to think about, but it's a real thing to think about.
Yes,
we see it now, and that's why it's so easy for people to just come in and do the sex trafficking and snatch our girls and snatch our young men, because
we're vulnerable.
Very much so. And people don't care. And they're too busy trying to outshine the next person and live like the Joneses.
And that's what we have to, and I think that kind of goes back to what I was saying about how we have to start healing from within first. You know, like you said, those young girls, and even younger than that, when you start thinking about the age at which a girl's self-esteem is affected, that's very early in life.
Yeah.
Very, very, very young is when that happens. The problem is that then they can spend a lifetime trying to fix it.
Yeah.
Think about all the mistakes that get made along the journey.
And that's with the males as well.
With males as well. And I think they face a different challenge, but it's just as serious. It's just as deep. And I can't shake that feeling that If you wake up and you honestly feel like you're only responsible for yourself, you kind of miss the point of humanity, because we are responsible for each other.
Yes,
we
we
really
are. Yes, we are.
And that's why I think having conversations like this, making sure that you're consistently in somebody's ear, God in the universe will lead you to who you need to talk
That's
to.
right.
But you have to be obedient. That's your part. The opportunity will be there, but then the obedience has to come in as well. So yeah, we got work to do still.
That is so true.
We got work.
And a lot of people don't know how to be obedient, and sometimes you can't get to your next destination because you continue to fail the same test God gave you over and over and over again. And I'm not ashamed to say it. I know I failed that test for a good 10 years.
Oh, I'm sure I did. I'm absolutely sure that I did. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know what I'm saying? Because those experiences, some of the experiences that I wish I hadn't had, I needed. Yeah. Because they changed me and they made me who I am. I lost my son to cancer, and I realized that had that not happened, there would have been a part of myself that I wouldn't have known. There would have been a strength that I didn't understand. So all the experiences that you have where it's a decade, Mocha, that I would like to wipe from the record books.
Right.
But the reality is that every negative experience, every mistake I made, every time I stumbled, I needed that lesson. I don't want to really quote anybody. Well, let me not quote a singer, but there's a song out now, and basically the female artist says, either learn me or I'm a lesson. That's how you have to approach life. Every opportunity for a lesson isn't going to come to you on a cushy plate, looking pretty. Sometimes those opportunities are heartbreaking and dark and painful, but you have to have them to get to the lesson part. So, I think that gratitude is the word for today.
And with that, and with that comes growth.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Even if you don't want it.
Even if you don't want it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And everything that you do, it's a lesson in it. Mm-hmm. And it's how you apply it. And people don't see it like that. They just really don't. That was an amazing point to make.
And I think I've been guilty of not seeing it too. I think I've been in situations where I'm just like, why did this happen? And I have all these questions. And the first instinct is to turn it back on yourself and be like, well, I shouldn't have done this, or I shouldn't have trusted this person, or I shouldn't have gone. But the reality is, I don't know anybody with a perfect life, but the people that I respect have come through their trials a different way. They've leveled up every time something has happened. And I think that that's what I look to. And again, it's about patterns and blueprints, because if I see you survive something, if that same thing happens to me before I crumble to pieces and act like I have no life source left, I can look at you and say, okay, she did it, so maybe I can too. Mm-hmm. So that's why speaking your story is important. I think that people sometimes feel like they don't have a valid story to tell. And celebrating women now, it is my hope that women just start speaking those stories, because the reality is, my dad used to say, for every voice there's an ear. And that's really true. Somebody needs to hear it. You may never get that double back where they come back and say, oh, thank you, Mocha, for saying that to me, because I really needed to hear that. I really needed that encouragement and motivation. But you got to keep talking anyway.
Exactly.
Because the point isn't for you to get the double back and for them to come back. But the point is for you to be consistent and keep getting it out there, because it's for someone. Yeah.
You're sure right. Speaking your mind and speaking your voice, what do you think about the Meghan Markle interview?
So I didn't watch the interview, but I have watched a lot of the commentary about the interview. And I will say this, knowing what I know about the UK and the monarchy specifically, there's a lot that is shielded. It's a very almost like a secret society. So if you're not from Great Britain and you decide you want to infiltrate it, you can't. It's a very closed society. Do I feel like there is racism and judgment? Of course there's judgment, because and with judgment comes racism and sexism and all those other things. Because if you start from a platform of judgment where I'm better than you are, I have to judge you to determine that I'm better than you, right? Because if I'm not judging you, we're the same. So is it possible that the things that Meghan said happened? I don't think she would come this far and unleash the purse strings associated with the monarchy to tell a lie. So I do believe her. I believe that it happened. I believe that there are conversations about what complexion her child would be, because that's the root of racism, and racism is a nasty animal. Racism doesn't play cute. I have respect for the fact that she and her husband were vocal, because they didn't have to say anything. This sealed their fate. When they left the palace, that was step one. They got cut off financially. That takes a lot of heart.
Yeah, that takes a lot of heart.
Let me say this to the camera. anybody who passes on some money and trades it in for integrity gets my respect. Because the reality is they walked away from what could have been a very cushy life to go build a life for themselves.
Hold on, not only did Harry walk away from the money, he walked away from a whole country.
The opportunity to run an entire, and that means something. So
Yes,
the fact that
yes.
people are now having all these conversations saying, oh, it wasn't that bad, or she made it up. Think about the balance. Think about what was left and what was lost. If my integrity means something to me, then there's no price attached to it.
Yes.
I just posted something on social media the other day, and I said, and it basically said, if your loyalty is determined by your opportunity, then you're in the wrong place. Because if I can switch up on you based on an opportunity, then there's nothing true or real about me.
Okay.
So I applaud her, and I applaud her husband
Yes.
for taking a stand. The reality is that if it were not for her, let's go ahead and say it, a black woman
Yes.
from the U.S.,
Yes.
come on. If it were not for her, the monarchy would have continued shrouded in all the mystery that it always has been shrouded in. They don't talk, they don't speak to the press, they don't tell their dirty secrets. When Princess Diana was killed, it took years for the true story to come out. So it tells you how secretive and how protective of themselves they are. So kudos to her. Absolutely.
I say kudos to her too, because she was stating, being from the United States, being a woman that had worked so hard, for women empowerment, and then to marry a prince and become a duchess, a princess, and not be able to be silenced like Oprah asked her. Were you silent or were you silenced?
That's a powerful distinction.
And that was a powerful, discussion and a powerful statement that Oprah made. And that's hard to do when you're coming from America, because I have friends over in the UK and they tell me all the time they depend upon the voices that we have over here to speak. To be quite honest, they were shocked that they were the first ones to pull down the statues.
I've heard that too.
And then we followed along. Desiree Benugo, I love you.
So I love how you consistently shout out women, because we need to do that all year, every year, because that's important. Going back to Meghan Markle for a second, I think that when you choose a road that they've chosen to kind of be out on their own without the protection of the monarchy, it leaves them vulnerable. And so I just hope that wherever they end up living permanently, that the communities there just wrap their arms around them. Because they are, so kudos to Oprah for doing it. Yes, I think it was important. Absolutely.
That was a step that I don't think, we need a lot more Harrys in this world.
Yes.
Okay, we need a lot more Meghan Markles in this world. Yeah. And start standing up and
not being fearful.
Yeah, not be fearful of what other people, may say. And sometimes you have to cut people off and love from afar, because sometimes they don't have your interests at heart. She learned that with her father and her sister, because she said that her sister their stepsister didn't even take on the last name Markle until she started dating Harry.
And again, those are those opportunistic people that they're only concerned about themselves. If they can feed off of you, then they will. And I just, my hope is that they have a long, happy marriage and raise a bunch of children. But my bigger hope is that somehow the monarchy will see that they've been exposed and change how they are. Yes. Because it has been centuries of that behavior. So this is not something that's going to change overnight. Yes, no. They took them days to formulate a legal response to the interview. Once they did, it was super benign and really didn't speak to any of the things. Exactly. Maybe she misunderstood. How do you misunderstand a question about the complexion of your child? Right. You don't misunderstand that. Exactly.
And especially it was being said to Harry, so he wasn't. Right. He probably asked a couple times, could you repeat that?
Yeah, what did you say? Yes. Yeah, so kudos to them.
I say kudos to them too. Mm-hmm. And I don't understand what's going on with the attack on the Asians. I
don't believe that this last story, I think this has been horribly skewed in the media. And if you go back to former President Donald Trump, when at the onset of the pandemic, when he called the coronavirus the Chinese flu, it was dumb. It was typical of him. It's what he does. So when this young man that killed these Asian, I think it was 2 white people, 6 Asian people, I believe he was religiously motivated because if you look at his backstory, he was an admitted sex addict with a strict religious past. So the conflict of sex and religion obviously existed in his mind, and he was very young. He went into Asian massage parlors. It wasn't like he went to an Asian restaurant here, an Asian market there, an Asian park. He went into specific places that are deemed, even here in Kansas City, I'm not going to say that all of them offer happy endings, but many of them do. So there's a very strict connection between sex trade and Asian massage parlors. We see it all the time. Check 40 highway, check 24 highway. It happens. So my belief is that he went in to eradicate some women that he felt were promoting sexual deviance. And he was an admitted sexual deviant in his mind, but he was also religious. So to cleanse himself, to say these women are doing these things, even though these women may have had nothing to do with that, they may have been legitimate massage therapists.
Exactly.
But what he knew of Asian massage parlors had to do with sex, and he was struggling with that. And was he crazy? Absolutely. Absolutely. But I don't think, so 24 hours later, you couldn't get online without people talking about Asian hate, and then you have these support groups popping up. I don't think it had anything to do with Asian hate the way that Donald Trump promoted it. I think this was a sick, twisted individual who saw a connection between deviant sex and Asian massage parlors and decided to eradicate it. He knew he was either going to get killed by the police or he was going to have to commit suicide or go to prison forever. Those are his options, and he was willing. That was a fair trade-off to him. I read a story about a man who I want to say he started in Illinois and began killing prostitutes like in the late 80s. And he would go from state to state, finding women on the street and killing them. And the reality was that his mother had been a prostitute, and he had such a distaste and a hatred for women who sold themselves.
Are you talking about the Zodiac Killer?
No, Zodiac Killer did the same thing because he had a hate for women, but it wasn't just prostitutes. He killed some women that were just women out on the street too. But this man really hated prostitutes, so he starts killing these women. Well, the reality was it was in his mind what he felt was nasty or inappropriate or whatever, and he wanted to eliminate that. Now, when you look at his real story, he was patronizing prostitutes too. So he was using their services and then killing them. So when people have that internal emotional struggle, okay, I if you're a Christian, you say I believe in God or whatever, and then you go home and sin secretly, it tears your spirit because who are you really? Are you really the professed Christian? Or are you that person that's doing backdoor stuff late at night? I think that's where a lot of this psychosis is coming from. It's because Christianity may call you to never make a mistake. Well, the reality is I'm gonna make one when I leave here, I'm sure. Next time we talk, I will tell you that I have made some mistakes. That's a part of life. And the guilt sometimes that people feel. So I think, but I agree with you. It's all over the news. It's all over the internet. They're calling it Asian hate. I don't think that's what it was. I think this man was just trying to rid people of sexual deviance, and that was his association. It's very sad because, it looks like those were all innocent people who planned on going home and having dinner that night.
And one of the ladies of that owned the building's birthday was the next day. She was turning 50. And that's just horrible. And I just wish that we can just, stop all this hatred. And number 45 is not in the office anymore. We got Biden and Kamala Harris. And y'all can talk about his stuttering and his dementia, but his stuttering dementia got him in the White House.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
Okay, can I get one on that one? Got him in the White House.
And I would take the stuttering and the dementia over hate speak any day. I don't care how long it takes you to get out your words. As long as they're not talking about hating each other and fueling that, I'm good with it. I can be patient and listen. Yes, absolutely.
So, what you think about the kids going? Now, I don't know. I have a lot of followers here, but in Kansas City, they're going back to school on the 5th. What you think?
I think it's a mistake. But I think that the amount of pressure that was placed on parents during this time, I still have friends now that have not been able to go back to work because they live in districts where their kids couldn't go back to school yet. So when unemployment was going to run out before the extension, they were in a panic. What are they going to do? They've been forced to stay at home with their children. But, I think that the mistake that we make as Americans, we have a lot of, some of us have a lot of trust in the government, trust in hospitals, trust in science. And sometimes that trust is misplaced because the reality is we just found out, those of us in America that are regular folks,
Right.
just found out about this coronavirus less than a year and a half ago.
Exactly.
So when we first heard about it, we didn't understand its seriousness. A couple months go by, we're like, okay, this is a real thing. A couple more months go by, people start dying. That's not a long time. Usually to prove a drug's efficacy, which is the rate at which it cures things, years of trials are done. So now we're faced with a situation where we really don't know a lot. Now, there's certain things that science can help us with or can prove for us, but this particular virus has taken all these variations. Now there are different variants that are stronger, more deadly. When we haven't gotten the variants under control, why would we risk sending our children back? I don't, it would be criminal if I told you I was going to go let I don't have 4-year-olds, thank God, but if I did have 2 4-year-old twins, and I said, Mocha, I'm going to let them play in the street today, because they want to play in the street. You would have me arrested or you come get me yourself. So I don't know that I would feel comfortable sending my children back in, even with the precautions in place, because especially younger children, they're kids. Their instincts are to play and touch their face and whatever. So I'm just not sure that it's the best thing to do. I think it should be optional for parents.
And then the interaction that they need social-wise, but the other children, the autistic children, how we forget about them and the ones
because
that have
they
ADHD.
can't process the restrictions.
Yes, through the virtual. So yes, they've been falling back, way back. They had to pass.
Hard to make up.
It's hard to make up. They had to pass everybody last year. So
that's a good point, because we'll hurt them by as good as we are as parents and trying to be dedicated. We're not trained teachers. We don't have that skill. That's not what we did.
Yeah.
And to leave children behind is a big thing. To have them go a year or 2 years and not be able to reintegrate effectively, that's a big thing. I had a conversation a couple of days ago about vaccinations, and I had a friend who is a nurse, and she was getting ready to enter a clinical trial to have her children vaccinated. So right now, you're not supposed to I think you can have children vaccinated in certain states, but she was entering a clinical trial, and I said, well, are you sure? Do you really want it? She said, yeah, I believe in it for myself, so I want to protect my children too. And I think that the country has gotten to that part in the conversation where they're wanting to say, okay, as soon as 70% of us are vaccinated, we're going to go back business as usual. But what is that rebound going to look like? I don't know. I think it's early. I think it's too early.
It's early too. What you think about back there, producer?
It's too early. The 1918 flu lasted 3 years.
Exactly.
The 1918 flu lasted 3 years. And the exact same thing happened when people were mad about restrictions and masks. People don't change, and diseases are not magical things that just disappear because we said so.
Right.
Yes.
I agree, producer, with the dropping the nuggets of wisdom today.
Sitting on his milk crate.
Teaching folks. But that's true. So why would we belittle history? Why would we say that, that we know more than, because science can dictate a lot.
Absolutely.
But the reality is science didn't predict this.
Okay.
Nobody came to us last February and said, hey, something bad is going to happen. We just woke up and it was there, and it got progressively worse. For Pfizer, for any of these pharmaceutical manufacturers to not let us have a vitamin or a hair growth regimen or something that cures nail fungus without putting that through 3 or 6 or 9 years of clinical trials before it could go to market. I just don't know. I'm just not.
What's getting me is how they start to have people show cards that they got the vaccination to fly to the next state.
So I had a woman.
And us as entertainers.
Yeah, we gotta go where we gotta go.
We gotta go.
I had a woman have a conversation with me last Monday, as a matter of fact, and I don't know how I feel. I really haven't processed the conversation, and she said, because she'd heard the same thing. Yeah. And she said, what I felt when I first heard it? She said, it wasn't like, she said, I kind of felt like, okay, well, cool, because she's planning to get vaccinated, or she was planning to get vaccinated. And she said, but in the middle of me processing through this thought, I felt like I felt when I was 7 and my grandmother told me that the mark of the beast was going to be needed for me to be able to buy, sell, trade, whatever. So when and I was very silent because I really hadn't thought about it until then. And I have a very strange balance between like religion and spirituality. And so I asked her, I said, well, then would you do it? I said, if they could say to you, hey, the vaccine's been out for a year now, you know, we're a year in, people are doing well with it, would you do it? And she said, I was gonna do it until this thought came to me. She said, now I don't think I can. I might just rather see what happens. And when you think about that, like mixing the spiritual realm with the physical realm, with the scientific realm, there's a lot to consider. But of the entities that I'm going to trust, and I hope it's okay to say this on
Yeah,
air.
speak on it, because the followers already know that I believe that I am a spiritual being having a human experience. We discussed this. You are fine. Go ahead.
So, of the entities that I would trust, the government is not one of them. I've never felt like we've always known everything. I think we get as small a piece of information from the pie that is available as they can give us. And then there's so many other things going on behind the scenes. So it's hard for somebody like me feeling like that to willingly accept anything that's given to me by the government. Here you go, this is for you. Well, what's the string that's attached to it? So do I believe that they rushed to save a bunch of us? I think that there was I think that the scientific community was genuine in trying to find something, but I think even they would admit it's too soon. They don't know what the side effects of having coronavirus are yet. So how do you know what the side effects are?
Exactly. And I believe I heard I think that's what I heard on Dr. Fauci say, this shot only lasts 90 days.
I can't remember. I know everything that I've heard and read about it, and I haven't done a lot of research because it didn't really interest me. I never had the personal debate of I didn't vaccinate two of my children because I was a non-vaxxer from way back.
Yeah.
But I remember, and I have respect for Dr. Fauci. I feel like, during the Trump administration, I was a little worried about we're a little worried about him. But if that's the case, then what are we really doing? Because how would we ever keep up with that? I think people that are higher risk individuals might want to think about it differently, but it's such a personal decision.
That's a very personal decision. Because you don't know what's going to happen next year.
And you can't undo it.
And you cannot undo it. How many more minutes I got left, producer?
10 minutes.
I got you.
Sorry, 5 minutes.
I have 5 minutes. So, last week when I was giving last Saturday show, okay? I was giving shouts out, and I had gave a shout out to the one and only Shay Moore.
Shay Moore.
On the Hot 103 Jams. Not even knowing that they was creating this big, beautiful commercial for her. Did you hear it on the radio station?
I did. Yeah.
For her giving back. Well, they want to give a shout out to Shay Moore for giving back to the community and being such a positive role model and just bringing her personality to Kansas City and keeping Brian on check. Yeah. But and so I just wanted to again give her a shout out for just being who she is and bringing that East Coast personality to Kansas City, because we need awesome. that laughter in the morning, boy. If you shine. Y'all some nuts, awesome. But we love you guys. But I do want to say kudos out to you. Yeah. And this has been such a pleasure to I'm
so glad I got to come. Just being able to sit here with you, and again, you are a very, very genuine spirit, and it's palpable. You can feel it.
Yes.
And I just, I think that the work that you'll do is going to be significant in the lives of some people that you may never meet.
Yes.
But just getting up every day and doing it and being consistent and continuing to live your life purposefully. It's going to be amazing.
Yes.
It's going to be amazing.
Because you guys know, when I was off the air for a year back in 2019, I was sick and I came back and I just kept going, and I'm living on faith, what we spoke about.
Yes.
And everything happens in divine timing. And God marks his blessed ones in a certain way. And just remember, you can support people in what they do, but just because that's their journey doesn't mean that's your journey.
That's right.
Just because it's their dream, that does not mean that that's your dream.
That's right.
Okay? Everybody want to eat, but it's not your position to put food on their plate.
That is very true.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Follow me, Kansas City Snap LLC, One Voice Radio, Femi Records, and you want to give out your information as well?
Absolutely. And again, it's the Next Page Talent Agency. It's nextpagellc.com. That's nextpaigellc.com. Please, for sure, hit us up if you are interested in becoming talent, if you want representation, or if you're looking to book talent, or if you're interested in any kind of programming, classes, lessons, be it voice, dance, or whatever.
Is there
So
age group?
certainly, it's open ages. We signed 2 8-month-old twins today.
Oh.
So we signed 2 8-month-old twins, and our oldest signee today was 60. I believe she was 67. A beautiful woman. Signed her as a model. So of course, if you're interested, please reach out to us. Again, Kansas City's first Black-owned, female-owned, full-service talent agency.
Do they have to be a certain height for the modeling?
So that's are you concerned with Damien, or are you trying to figure out if he can join the team?
Well, I am sitting here. My feet are not touching the ground. I mean, so I can't talk too much. I got my legs crossed. And
right. I was like, it's cute though. She cute though. She said. Actually, modeling has changed because it used to be. I am 5'8", and I was told I was too short to be a model for years, and so it's changed. Runway models can be shorter than 5'9". 5'9" used to be the industry standard, but there's also print work, and there are opportunities out there. We signed several models that are slightly shorter than the average model would be. So things are changing. Art is changing, and artistry is changing. So
is there a number that they can reach out to you?
They can reach out to the company at info@nextpagellc.com. And please remember to spell Paige, Paige. So that address, the info@nextpagellc.com, is the best way to do it. On the website, there's also a chat box, so you can certainly do that as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, with all that being said, like I said, I appreciate you so much.
And I thank you, ma'am. I am glad to be here, and for sure, I'd love to come back anytime.
Yes, we're gonna have to bring back later on in the summer so we can see how far the talent agency has progressed and what has taken place with the twins. And,
oh my gosh!
And what they've done, and
they're gonna be, and they're identical. They're two little girls. They're darling. So thank you, Mocha. Thank you.
You're so welcome. And with that being said, you guys, this is Mocha Myers, Kansas City Snap LLC. I am breathing in that good prana. Karisa is breathing in that good prana. We're putting it out to the universe. We want you to receive it. Yeah. You have a wonderful day. Ciao.